but now you've lost a sense of identity. You've lost a sense of
Yes.
security. You've lost a sense of safety. You've lost a sense of when anytime you look at a chair, it's not just the holiday times that trigger it. It's now a woman that I ministered to last week where 35 years she is married, and now she has to learn how to take out the trash because she never did.
Welcome to the Authentically You podcast, where real conversations lead to real growth. I am excited that you decided to join me today. I hope that you are walking into rooms, striking your power pose, and shifting the atmosphere. And in case you are not feeling so powerful or strong, this episode is going to dive deep into some areas of uncomfortability or uncomfortableness. I was listening to a podcast with Viola Davis, and she spoke about how the best questions are the uncomfortable ones. She mentioned that the key to healing is discomfort because we make the best discoveries when something costs us. Now, let me know in the chat if you find this statement to be true. And being fully transparent, because it is the Authentically You podcast, it has been when I have faced like opposition, rejection, discomfort, that I discovered the awareness of God in the midst of my firestorm. And what is also true is that during my firestorm, it was not easy to find people that I could talk about with my discomfort or being able to share without being told, oh, you're so strong, this will pass. Or, girl, you know how to pray. Get on your knees and do what you do. Or how about when there is no display of empathy and the person or people just simply change the subject? Please know that this is the space where you will not hear those type of statements. As a matter of fact, those of you dealing with silent pain, invisible diseases, grief, loss, and societal pressures, this is the place where your voice is heard, and you will have some place where someone is not trying to fix you. Aren't you tired of that? Someone always trying to fix you. Rather, this is the place where someone will sit with you so that you know that whatever you're going through, you don't have to go through it alone. Not that firestorm, not that grief, that pain. You don't have to do it alone. Now, listen, when you finally choose to speak, be selective to whom you share your words with. Say amen, somebody. Because if someone does not understand your silence or your silent SOS, they probably will not understand your words. And so today we have a phenomenal guest who I call a wordologist. This person is educated, spiritually grounded, and a perseverer of great challenges. She has also worked as an educator, a commissioner, a life coach, a speaker, an author, and as a matter of fact, she is the editor of my book, The Blessings of Being Authentically You. I want to introduce to the Authentically You podcast crew and to the world none other than Dr. Torise Hiller from A Place to Consider in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. T, my girl, whom I love. Thank you for joining us today.
It's so good to be here. So good to be here. Great to see you, Apostle Brenda.
Oh, it's so good to be seen and not viewed, right?
Amen.
So as I said, in my introduction, you are a phenomenal woman. And I just want to give you, first of all, your props because as I said, I know you to be a woman of great perseverance And I also know you to be a woman who is very educated, but you walk very humbly. And we don't always find that in the midst. And also, what I love about you is some area that we really clicked is the desire to tell truth and to speak truth
Yeah.
to things. Like our topic about liquid language, how with liquid language, it's a place where you can speak your silence. And
Yeah.
also, it's almost like liquid language when you cry. It's the
Yes.
tears speak for you. And I just
Yes.
want you to share a little bit. And I don't care if you want to talk about, first of all, a place to consider or whatever's on your heart, because we really want to help people today that are
Yeah.
going through some situations that society, friends, church, business have said, be quiet, don't talk about that.
Well, it's good to be here. And so I am the author, speaker. I'm the founder of a place to consider.com. It was birthed in August of 2022. And it started from a space of, in COVID, after COVID, creating a space for women to share their stories about grief.
Mm.
And so I ended up walking a set of women through three segments of soul care. And so in that birthed um, helping a client with a book for grief, and then the rest is history.
Definitely. And, when you talk about helping people go through grief,
Yeah.
describe how it could possibly be difficult to be authentic when you're going through grief, especially when you're a professional or maybe you're a leader in the church or simply the head of the household. How do you help people navigate being authentic when going through grief?
Yeah. Well, first we have to cultivate a space of trust. It's really important for them to feel safe so that they can feel empowered to tell the truth. Because without trust, there is no truth.
Yes.
And it's in the truth. And when they're able to feel vulnerable, then they're able to, transition to the next step to begin to talk. And so, with each client, I just listen to their story. And I believe that's the opening for many people because most of the time in a busy society, in a busy world, no one wants to listen and no one can hear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
half the time, people are listening to respond versus listening to hear. And so when I am able to share parts of my story, which is very vulnerable, it actually allows them to relate. And then when there's a connection, then we're able to really do the work.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of Stephen Covey is first seek to
Mhm.
understand rather than to be understood. And that
Yes.
is really key when we're dealing with trauma, when we're dealing with people's pain. Because as
Yes.
I said in my intro, that even Dr. Brene Brown talks about how what really matters for people is connection,
Mhm.
not trying to
Absolutely.
go in and just fix people, but to sit with them in their pit. And a lot of times people are uncomfortable
Yeah.
sitting in places where people are in pain. They just want to go in and make the light come back on. But is there a process that people need to go through to be able to come through grief?
Okay. And so it's about connection. And so people don't want to experience pain. And so to have someone be able to navigate that pain with them, to sit with them, to hold the space, meaning
Ah,
it's not judgmental.
yeah.
I'm not going to demonize you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to over spiritualize. I'm just going to allow you to be fully human.
Yes.
And I believe that's the issue that we're having in the world, and especially us as church leaders. That I find especially, and that's where this next segment of my life, I'm working with church leaders who do not know how to deal with grief. And unfortunately, we are re traumatizing people from the pulpit because we have not understood the dynamics of grief, the levels of grief, the layers of it, and the ebbs and flows of it. Because there's secondary grief, there's chronic grief. And so we can't just say we're going to patty cake it, pray it away, exercise it away when truly it's lodging in our bodies. And so that's really what makes me so passionate about it because the body keeps the score. And when we don't
Yes, it
talk
does.
about it, emotions lodge in our body and they lodge in our organs. And then when we have sickness and we go to doctor, and they don't find out what's wrong, it's truly sometimes grief.
Hmm. I'm amazed at how, when we don't deal with emotion, how we know by research and scientific ways, but even biblically, if we don't deal
Yeah.
with unforgiveness or we don't deal with grief, it turns into an attack on our bodies. And
Yes.
I know for myself, just being transparent, having to deal with lupus is
Hmm.
this autoimmune disease that the body fights against itself. And so
Yes.
I have to be very careful about stress. And
Hmm.
what is amazing about stress is that there is good stress and there is bad stress, but both of them impact me physically. And while I
Yes.
walk around most of the time looking like I'm okay, I
Right.
am suffering in my
Yeah.
body. And that
Yeah.
I say that to say that I believe there are many people that are listening even now that are walking around as if everything's okay, but they've never released the pain that they have, either because someone told them that you need to be strong, or someone told them if you pray it away, it'll stay away. But what advice could you give or guidance for someone who is holding on to grief and does not know how to let it go?
My response to that is find a space or find someone that you feel comfortable with to release it. And
Uh-oh.
sometimes you might not know someone to immediately
Coffee.
like go to. But what I would say it is to find, find someone that you truly trust. And
Yes.
even if you don't, sometimes that really might be a stranger, Apostle Brenda, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Sometimes
Yes.
people feel safer with a stranger and you're
Yes.
able to really release. And so let me be transparent for a minute. About 2 weeks ago, and I think this will connect to the liquid language. I went to a church service, a church that I'm partnering with in this new season and new state. And so the person and I have interacted, occasionally, but she ended up hugging me.
Mm.
And that hug lasted a good 35 minutes. And I
Wow.
just released. And it was the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, working through the both of us, where there was so much liquid language.
Mm.
And so I felt my spirit felt safe enough to finally release. And she began
Yeah.
to minister in my ear and just said, I'm not talking to Dr. Torise. I'm talking to Torise. And I want you to know that I'm here for you. Who do you have to lean on? And so a lot of times, you don't know who it's going to be. But when that
True.
moment, I want to encourage somebody, when that opportunity and that door opens to release, whether it's on the elevator, whether it's in a 7-Eleven, whether it's in a Barnes and Noble, whether it's in a church service, wherever that is, when that opening comes, please release.
Amen. That is so powerful to for you to share, because a lot of times I have seen in working as a chaplain that
Yeah.
exactly what you said is not planned. You're not even thinking about releasing, but there's
Hmm.
something about that connection and the timing that it
Yes.
converges. And I
Yes.
want to encourage those that when that time hits, release.
Yes.
And I'm going to
Yes.
share with people who are listening, if you witness this, please don't film them. Please don't put that as like a move that's happening in the room and display it. That's a very private, personal time. And that person is getting a release from
Yeah.
maybe years of pain, uh, uh,
Yeah.
things that are layered in life. And it is
Hmm.
necessary for the release, because when we speak about liquid language, it
Yes.
is where you don't have words to even describe how you feel. Most of the time, it could be in a wail. It could be in just sitting and rocking. It could
Hmm.
be where you're moaning. It can be where you're sitting in silence and your mind is going a million miles a minute. And it is a perfect connection that will allow for that release. So, can you share a little bit, Dr. T, about how relationships are important in the process of, grief, and having someone like this person said, I'm here to, not to the professional woman, but
Yeah.
to God's daughter, to the child that maybe never received the care that was needed
Yeah.
through the time of great trauma.
Yeah. Relationships are so significant, because, we're not meant to do this life alone. And a
No.
lot of times the ramifications of rejection, loss, pain, suffering will cause us to go into a cocoon. And then we go
Yes.
into isolation. We go running, because we just feel like it feels safer to be alone when that's truly not the truth.
Wow.
And so relationships are important because I realize and I'm recognizing on this journey that when you're able to allow the load to be shared, then you're not carrying the full weight.
Hmm.
And then you're releasing that burden to be able to be free.
Yes. And I want to, because I don't want to assume that everyone understands when we talk about grief, we're talking about the death of a loved one, the loss of a
Exactly.
job, the death of a
Exactly.
pet, um, someone walked out of your life that was very significant. It could
Yeah.
be feeling as though you failed, in academics. That
Hmm.
grief is something that brings, that is entertained by many different spheres of influence. And it's
Yeah.
important for us to identify that sometimes we have anticipatory grief. Can you talk about anticipatory grief?
Absolutely. It's when you've experienced so much grief that you begin to expect the loss. You're kind of
Mm,
bracing yourself for the loss. Every time the phone rings, your nervous system is on flight or fight.
mm,
Anytime you're going somewhere, you're just in this chronic space where you're expecting another blow. And one thing about grief that I think is also important to mention is that there are secondary griefs. And so, say you lost your husband, right? It's not just the loss of him, but now you've lost a sense of identity. You've lost a sense of
yes.
security. You've lost a sense of safety. You've lost the sense of when anytime you look at a chair, it's not just the holiday times that trigger it. It's now a woman that I ministered to last week where 35 years she is married, and now she has to learn how to take out the trash because she never did.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
that's a secondary grief. And it seems so minute to other people, but it's a huge deal,
It is.
you
It
know?
is.
And so I think, too, in this space, as you said, Apostle, that with grief, loss, and societal pressures, we have this pressure, especially as Black women, to always be
Hmm.
strong, to always be packaged, to always be perfect. And I think many of us are learning to unmask.
Yes.
but it has to be
Yes.
in environments like this where you have relationship with someone that you trust, that you've cultivated, that you've gone through some boxing together. You really kind of tackled through some painful, embarrassing, shameful moments, but truly it has cultivated trust. And so I think sometimes we think that we have no one, but there is at least one person that we can go to. And I
I
believe
like
it's
that.
worth trying again, in spite what we think might be rejection. I dare you to go it again.
Hmm. I like that. And so I want to encourage all our listeners. I want you to try again. I want you to believe again. I want you to step in to who you truly are one more time, because that may be the time that brings you through your fire, through your grief, through your loss. Just one more time. Everybody deserves one more time. You know what is good about that one more time is you can keep saying one more time, another time,
One more
and
time.
again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
share, it makes me think about the role of vulnerability when we talk about our relationships, or when we talk about our journey, especially when we're in troubled times.
Yeah.
What do you say is powerful about vulnerability? Vulnerability. What is a
Oh my
what? How is
God.
that a power tool?
It is your superpower. I'm telling you, it's your superpower because with each discomfort, you're learning more about yourself and others at the same time. And
Yes.
I think a lot of times, if you're never in that position, you don't know what's going to come up. And so what happens is we're training ourselves to stuff our stuff. But when we allow vulnerability to really come up, then real transformation happens. You become that
Yes.
beautiful butterfly, that it becomes this metamorphosis process, because now you're like, oh my God, I never experienced that before. This is what this emotion is, because I believe God has created us in his image to really be fully human. And
Yes.
I don't know if you realize it, but many of us have not experienced being fully human.
I do believe that. And I'm going to say, just like we spoke about how Black women are always typified to be strong, right?
Yeah.
To keep going. And yet there's a
Yeah.
need for us to be that human side, that
Yes.
we are the weaker vessel at this moment, which we understand that means restrained strength, but
Yeah.
also for the men who were
Hmm.
told not to cry, not to show emotions, be
Correct.
stoic. How do we help our brothers to feel
Yeah.
vulnerable enough, but also safe enough to share
Yeah.
how they feel?
Most of the time, it comes in not just conversation, but it's availability in that. And I believe it's just the ministry of presence. Whether you're going to
Yes.
hold their hand, and most of the time I just say, I see you. And those three words, I see you,
Mm-hmm.
begins to open up so much. And I think a lot of times too, as Black men, they need permission. They need permission to cry. And without us responding, we don't need to respond with our words. We just need to respond with our hands. We just need to respond with a smile. Because sometimes our words, we can't trust our words. Sometimes,
That's right.
you know,
That's
as
right.
Black women, as I've seen.
Truth.
And
Truth.
so I'm telling you, it feels like this interview is a clip of last week,
Wow.
because it truly happened with even a male pastor that was experiencing grief. And so
Mm-hmm.
having a dialogue with him, just sitting there listening, grabbing his hand, just saying, I see him, just nodding, just allowed a weight of 10 years to be released.
Wow.
And so I believe
Yeah.
it's truly presence. I mean, sometimes I wish I had more words, but sometimes less is more. it means so
Mm-hmm.
much
It
just to
does.
be.
The ministry of presence is just simply walking in a room and sitting down beside someone. And as you said,
Yeah.
not touching anybody, but just there. And I
Yes.
remember when my children's father, when that giant of a father he had passed away. And I
Yeah.
remember when he finally started expressing his grief, it was best for me just to sit there, not touch.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
people don't realize that when someone's in the process of something,
Yeah.
when you touch them, you bring them back to a reality. It's a false
Absolutely.
reality. Instead of allowing them to continue to walk through that journey they are on, which is toward healing. As was
Yes.
said earlier, that discomfort really helps
Yes.
us to discover healing.
Yes.
Because it has cost us something. It has
Yes.
driven us to a place of darkness. But even as the word says, though I sit in darkness, he will be a great light unto
Yes.
us. And it is in that time that we find that I'm not alone, that somebody
Yes.
does care, and that I'm
Yes.
going to make it. And so I would
Yes.
say to the audience, I want you to know you're not alone. Someone
Yes.
does care, and you will make it. Grief does not have a timeline. It is a day by day, moment by moment, month by month, year by year experience. But you will
Yeah.
make it through. You got to go through it
Yes.
to get to it. And so I encourage you to take heed to what Dr. T is saying today. I call her Dr. T because she's a dear, dear sister of mine. But also, I want you to know that we're just human beings that are on a journey
Yes.
for the better. And when you
Yeah.
need a helping hand, don't be afraid to cry out and ask, for help.
Yeah.
So, Dr.
Yeah.
T, one more question. What advice would
Yeah.
you give to someone who wants to embrace authenticity but fears that judgment you spoke about or rejection, especially when they're in their lowest moments?
Yeah. The advice I would give is first, write down your pain.
Mm,
With liquid language, sometimes you can't talk. And if you're afraid to go to someone, sometimes you're afraid of what to say. And so I would say first, write down exactly how you feel, raw and all and all. And then begin to write down 3 people that you want to convey these words to. And
mm.
then when you decide, ask Holy Spirit which one to call, you pick up the phone and call. Because if that makes you feel comfortable, then you can just read off your words and get it off your chest. But
Hmm.
before that, just say, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And I don't want any interruptions, but I feel safe enough to share this with you. And so, do you have room to listen? And then you go from there. And so I believe it's just really asking for the grace and then giving yourself the space to receive it.
Yeah, I love that. Great words,
Yeah.
great advice.
Yeah.
Dr. T, if someone wanted to get in touch with you to receive your wisdom or for you to come for a speaking engagement, how can they reach you?
They can reach me at a place to consider at gmail.com. They can email me or they can go on any of my social media tags and reach out. And if they want to book an appointment, they can go to a place to consider.com and then go under the book me to set up an appointment.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much. You are actually my first Zoom podcast guest. And so thank you for, doing this. And also I want to say again to you, you're not here without being through great struggle.
Yeah.
You have shared with me even before when we were going to film that you had lost so many significant people in your life. So just
Yeah.
know I'm holding you close in my heart, just like our audience. You are not alone. And I pray that this time of sharing will begin to open up some of that heaviness, and you can receive the healing. And remember, not everyone gets healed all the way through, not immediately. Some are healed as they go, day by day, moment by moment. And so I want to thank you for being such a part of us. And please know we're going to send you a gift. We have our Authentically You mug that we're going to send you, and also another gift for taking the time. I know you're a very busy person. And also, I want to say again, thank you so much for helping me as I was able to complete the publication of The Blessing of Being Authentically You, which for you, the audience, you are able to purchase at BrendaAlton.com or at lulu.com. And I also want to give a shout out to the audience. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Please tell someone else about this podcast that has offered real conversation for real growth. Also, I want to ask you if you would put in the comments, any of you that are struggling with the challenges of an autoimmune disease, and in particular lupus, because May is Lupus Awareness Month, and I am trying to organize an awareness event, and I would love to have your participation. I'm planning to have a panel of women who are going through lupus, because lupus shows up differently in different people's lives. And it's one of the hardest diseases to diagnose. And it comes with great challenges. So I want to prepare for May, and I would like your participation. Also, please know that you can go to my Instagram page, Authentically You, also our Facebook community page. And I also have to give a big shout out to Collab Create. They're my people. And I love them. I love their building. I love their work. And so check them out. If you have any photographer, videography, space needs, check them out. You can find them on their website. And then lastly, I just want to leave a word of encouragement that you are not alone, that you are cared for. And it begins here at Authentically You Podcast. Now, make sure that you sow your seeds in good places, because where you sow your seeds, you receive a harvest. And if you think about sowing a seed for the Authentically You podcast, you can do so by Cash App at BAM Ministry, or you can go to our PayPal info at BrendaAlton.com. You can also find us on our website, www.BrendaAlton.com. And I want to tell you that you are so important, that this program was divinely designed for you. Thank you, Dr. T, again for your presence. And I pray until we meet again, you continue to be authentically you.